unforgiving level design, and bosses that will kick your sorry ass until you learn their tricks. Given the fact that the medium's been dead for so long, the incredibly well done 8-bit soundtrack helps the appeal. My favorite thing about Mega Man 9 is the tongue-in-cheek approach it has to everything, with even more ridiculous boss themes than ever and some of the always welcome unforeseeable traps. ZX6, it's all about the approach. ZX Advent follows as, again, a realization of where the Zero series was headed, although I rate it lower than one of those, and most people consider Advent vastly better than the first. So what gives? Some of the stuff in Advent just pisses me off. For one, the sheer overkill of smug self-referential crap that sneaks in every aspect of the older series and their dogs, but doesn't see fit to tie any of it to the story. For another, the fact that the biometal armors seem less inspired and useful than those of ZX. Even the dynamic ones are a little too specific, and the best one isn't even new, it's recycled from ZX. I guess I expected to see at least one fresh and awesome idea here. Lastly, a more forgettable soundtrack and a beyond retarded story. I know Mega Man and story are practically enemies, but seriously now. On the other hand, the level design is as innovative as ever, the bosses are excellent, and the layout is vastly improved. Should go to show you how objective and opinionated this list is, so don't take things to heart. Now I've gone this long, and I've yet to mention 2 X games routinely considered the best by fans. If it weren't apparent, I've got a rather heavy bias towards the first games of new series, and games that really bring a new evolution to things. I find that in any of the 4 main series there's a gradual decline in my drive to replay and appreciate each game the further we go, even if there are things about them objectively better than previous games. This is a pure opinion and a pure preference. I recognize that games like X4 are incredibly solid, and it should also be emphasized how much of a Mega Man nut I am, because until we get to the truly mediocre examples, I count each of the games I've mentioned so far as excellent in their own rights. This is just how I look at things from my own preference by this point, having replayed most of these an unhealthy number of times. Getting back on track, X5 is next, and I've already detailed extensively why I slightly prefer it to X4, which is kind of an objectively more solid game. I think X5 presents some of the most individually impressive stage concepts in the entire series, and some of the many new ideas they attempted were very welcome additions to the basis X4 set. There's a lot to be pissed about in X5, but I have an affection for the sheer effort Infinite put into trying to make this the true finale of the series. The only real separation is the fact that X4 stands out less and less to me as time goes on. A big problem I have with X4 is the fact that the final stages are completely lackluster, whereas X5s feel epic and conclusive to the series. I don't know, it's just how I ended up taking them both in, I guess. If you didn't hate me before, here you go. It took me this long to get to X3, and honestly, I think X3 is overrated. Things it does excellently are the sheer number of secrets and items to find, the first real challenge of the series, and some individual bosses and stages. It shares a lot in common with the first Zero game to me though, with some strangely empty stages and sloppily designed, simple bosses, both of which stand out quite ugly compared to the awesome ones. Also, there are some individual songs here that kick almost any other OST's ass, but overall, what the fuck were they thinking with that horrible grunge guitar? I dislike a lot of the music here, especially how generic it sounds compared to the first 2 games whose songs invoked the environments of the stages they played in. Like I said, Zero's in this same boat despite kicking off an absolutely badass series. There's an unfinished feel to a lot of the stage design and layout in Zero, and I also have reservations with the overemphasis on ranking and the penalties imposed for seeking out upgrades. It works for me, but for most people it just made things feel like a chore a lot of the time. Mega Man embraces of this ilk with some selectively creative moments and an awesome new character, weighed down by a lot of character bias in select stages and some fairly empty final levels. The positive aspects of these 3 games obviously heavily outweigh the negative ones, but I just find myself gaining more and more reservations as I replay them. And these so-called reservations don't exactly stop me from replaying the thing, so you can take these complaints to be pretty minute in the end. Zero 3 is next. It's got less of the problems the original did and feels about as fine-tuned as Zero 2, so what's my problem? Well, where the fuck is the challenge? Zero 3 isn't just easy, it's blandly easy. I've replayed this in 4 significantly less than the other 2 because frankly, once I've beaten them once there's not exactly much left for me to do to push them further. 4 is more forgettable though. 3 has great stage design to make up for the yawn-inducing threat. Mega Man 1? So after all the diatribe I gave about loving the first jumpstart to a series and loving difficulty, why the fuck is this one so low? Because Mega Man 1's fun moments seem balanced out by the annoyingly broken ones. Mega Man 1, I think, is the only one of the original 6 to really show its age, to the point where difficulty is replaced by aggravation. Still, it's the first game in the series and it started everything off, so it's gotta get credit for that. X8 is this far down. Hey, I enjoy the game, I do, but I think it gets an easy ride having come after the atrocity of X7. It still has Gigavolt and Yeti stages, it still has Axel and a frankly retarded update system. If you're on the PC, write yourself a script unless you have 10 hours to grind medals. It still has some fairly forgettable stages alongside quality ones, ditto the music. On the other hand, Zero kicks serious ass in this game, the bosses are all unique and fun, and the final fight is the best in the series, as well as the final song, plus Vile's back. Vile makes anything good. I don't know, it's a quality game. It's just more forgettable to me than many of the others. At this point, I really feel the need to emphasize that every game I just mentioned I consider great or excellent. There's an overabundance of complaints because I'm trying to justify why they stand where they do for me in regards to some of the ones I hold in higher esteem. The next few are a mixed blessing, to say the least. X6, look, I can't hate this game, okay? I'm sorry. I really tried to, but I just can't absolutely hate it. This is a relationship founded on pain. Mega Man 7, I don't know what to say about this. I hate the huge ass sprites, I really fucking hate them. Otherwise, fairly solid levels, okay bosses, but the whole thing is just too piss easy, on top of being not particularly memorable. But instead you got Bass, an incredibly underrated Wily theme. You know what goes in this exact same place? 4, 5, 6, and 8. Those are the definition of cookie-cutter entries, each forgettable, each with a lot of bullshit, each with individually great aspects. They're just so damned run-of-the-mill overall. Mega Man 04 falls in this category for its series. Well, that likely contradicted itself about a dozen times over and made little to no sense, but this is it. Every single game I just mentioned, without fail, I enjoy for one reason or another. Yes, every damn game in every main series I actually somehow like in the end. How goddamned biased is that? I don't know. It's also worth mentioning spin-offs like Battle Network have their moments. I realize there are awesome games I didn't mention, like Mega Man 5 for the Game Boy or Mega Man Soccer, but this was about the mainstays. Anyway, this is Hide a Beast closing off a long journey, and I'd like to say once more not to take too much of this to heart, and that it's been a pleasure. I'll see you for whatever comes next. The fuck do you mean I skipped the game? I'll tell you what, I want you all to do something for me. Go to YouTube and search for the term Flameheinerd. Figure out how to spell it, click a video and listen. Listen to the whole goddamned thing. If you come back to me afterwards and acknowledge anything you just saw as belonging to the category of game, you obviously believe in a higher power than I do.